Hello, and welcome back to another video feature of the Immersive Worlds Handbook. Today I am in Riverside, California at Tio's Tacos, and perhaps, as you'll see here, an unlikely place to do a video feature. But if you could make it out in the camera here, I am surrounded by just thousands and thousands of art items and recycled creations. And Tio's Tacos, and I'll just turn around this way, maybe you could see some of the cool sculptures, is pretty famous for the fact that the Sanchez family, and specifically Martin Sanchez, the owner and primary artist for all these creations, created this space, which is a massive, sprawling Mexican restaurant, taco shop, of course, but also all this incredible recycled art. And if you've had a chance to see other places like this, certainly if you've been to Iowa, the Grotto of the Redemption, or other places around America that sometimes get labeled as folk art places, you have an appreciation of exactly what goes into an endeavor like this one. And as you can see here, just about everything imaginable has been used, and it's part of the recreation. If we pan down here, you can actually see some of the sidewalk, and actually in the sidewalk you have everything from license plates to right here, old gauges, pipes, conduit, you name it. And certainly if you think of the French word bricolage, and the person who's a bricoleur, someone who is a jack of all trades and recreates, makes something out of nothing, or out of the recycled bits of culture, you might think of that term, those two terms here, as you walk through the gardens. There's even, as I'll show you in the video, a chapel that has been consecrated by the Catholic Church, and this was a gift to from Mr. Sanchez to his wife. So I mean, it's an absolutely amazing space, and one that I think you could say is totally unique and something you wouldn't see anywhere else. You certainly would call this more something out of an art commune than a typical restaurant. So let me take you around a bit more of the space, and you can get a sense of what it's like, and perhaps appreciate just the levels of creativity that go into creating something like this. So let's take a look around. As we examine some of the initial spaces here, I think one of the things I could say about my first impression was just how every nook and cranny of the grounds, and they're absolutely massive. I mean, it's a restaurant, but it's much more than a restaurant. In fact, the space of the restaurant, inside and out, rather large, but the grounds that make up all these other examples of art projects and creative undertakings are absolutely massive. And one of the things I mentioned in my introduction was this idea of bricolage. And the notion of bricolage, I think, has been represented quite well in a lot of anthropological literature. Claude Lévi-Strauss, the famous anthropologist, when he wrote about bricolage, he saw it as a characteristic pattern of mythological thought. And he also thought that this notion of being able to reuse things for a different purpose was part and parcel, foundational in terms of looking at human cognition and how the mind works. And so the creativity involved in one being a bricoleur, I think, is absolutely monumental in understanding why a particular space like this is immersive and fascinating and avant-garde all at the same time. You probably hear in the background right now, I have the volume track turned down a bit, but you hear the bottles moving around. Just next door to me, this is the Catholic chapel. And just on the opposite wall here to the right, you can hear it even louder in this particular video, there was an individual. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but he was just working with all of these materials that he was using, presumably to update or to create new projects of some sort at this space. And we're walking through here a bit more of the grounds, and you could see, I mean, calling this eclectic art, I think, is an understatement. And what's fascinating is just look at some of these figures here. They're using household items, toys, thrown away items. I mean, all sorts of different, that one figure is made up made up of just of dolls. I mean, what a fascinating space to explore. I just think, you know, you could bring local Riverside art students and they would probably just have a field day thinking about this space, getting inspiration, and seeing exactly how you can use everyday objects, transform those, and turn them into new works of art, and then combine all those works of art and create a space that is immersive in some ways that are hard to describe unless you experience the space. In some of the other videos, I will be comparing and contrasting this space with others also in Riverside and one space in particular in Singapore. And the series that I'm doing here, I'm calling Eclectic Art Environments. And I struggle a little bit with terminology in terms of exactly what to call this. I mean, there are times when I'm in a theme park or a theme restaurant, not like Tio's Tacos here, and it's pretty clear, even though the attractions are different, the theming is different, it's fairly clear that the particular space can be categorized as a theme park or a theme restaurant. Coming to Tio's Tacos, I had an entirely different sensibility. I didn't exactly know what to call it, and I think this is one of the things that if you read some of the comments of people on Yelp and other online fora have said about this space, it defies expectations and it defies descriptions, and thus it has to be experienced on your own by taking a visit to the space itself. As we walk through and consider a few more of the art exhibits here, I should point out, maybe you saw in some signage earlier, that this space has been featured on so many TV shows, dealing with extreme homes or extreme restaurants, and indeed the Sanchez family, not open to the public, of course, but their home also has some interesting theming, not as eclectic and avant-garde as this, but certainly equally interesting from what I saw on television. So I hope in using this space and in looking at a space like this, we can become more appreciative of theming and immersion, and specifically approaches to theming and immersion that defy our expectations and that go beyond the typical everyday sensibilities that we might have when we're designing a space. So for me, highly, highly, highly inspirational. Hope you've enjoyed this video feature today here at Tio's Tacos in Riverside, California. Please come back for additional video features of the Immersive Worlds Handbook.